you're able to shoot. And you can do that left hand, and you can also do that with your right hand. What's up, YouTube? This is Midnight Wolf doing a Dreams showcase video. This is week 2 of my development process of making a character in Dreams have the logic necessary to kind of make it similar to the game Infamous. So he's got to have all kinds of different abilities that he can do, different movement modes that he can do, and in the end, I definitely plan on posting this puppets because he's going to be able to do all kinds of different things. And if you don't, let's say you don't need all of his abilities, you can take out the abilities that you don't need, and then you can add whatever abilities that you want. So that's kind of the idea of this puppet. Now, a quick review on last week's video on what all you can do. You have super speed, which I did update some things on it. I made it a little faster, and I also made it to have like a sound effect. So, and I tweaked the environment to be able to test out some of the new things that I added to this puppet. So, for instance, for super speed, I made it a full circle, or in this case a square or rectangle, to kind of have like a path to try to follow, and it's pretty hard to follow, and it's easier to show. All right, ready, set, go. Oh, see, I already screwed up. So yeah, super speed is much more improved. I'll probably have to tweak the speed of that, but you know, we'll see what that entails later, or what feels good and whatnot. But we're at the current state, you go really fast. I tweaked flight a little bit, not too much. I literally just gave him a different pose right now, and I think I might have made him fly a little faster from the last video, but this one, at least the pose kind of makes it feel a little bit better. When you're flying, it just feels better. So there's that, and then there's teleport mode, which this particular week I didn't really focus too much on teleport mode, because it's pretty much polished how I want it to work, other than a few things I will have to debug the whole, figure out how to prevent it from clipping through objects, because if you notice, whenever I went into super speed, it clipped through the ground, and we got to figure out how to fix that. But anyways, there's nothing really different about it. One thing that I will say is I do want to add the ability to grab an enemy with the cursor, press a button, and it kind of tags the enemy, and then you could grab a point far away and then teleport that enemy to that location. That's definitely an ability that I want to do, but that'll be probably a part of my ultimate abilities class, because I'm planning on having, of course, the main abilities, but then each kind of movement mode will have a certain amount of ultimate abilities that you can do. And I think that kind of would count as an ultimate ability, especially if you can teleport, let's say, a big brute character that you want to teleport. He might be a lot slower than a bunch of these other smaller characters that are fighting you, and the smaller ones would obviously be faster and more agile, whereas the bigger guy would be a lot more more of a tank. And so let's say you want to fight just the smaller guys first, and because the tank might be harder to take down, so you might teleport him away, fight all of his bad guys, and then by the time the tank guy comes back, then you're able to take him out one by one, or one-on-one, so that way you don't have to focus on too many things at one time. You can just teleport him away. So that's something that I definitely plan on doing for the teleport ability as well, if you're curious. Now moving on to the actual new stuff. So I set up the another reason why I set up some other tiles for this environment is to test out another ability. So if you try to make this jump with a single press of the X button, you notice you don't really make it. You're gonna fall into the void if you try to make that jump like normally. However, but this is a game based off of Infamous, so, or this character is based off of Infamous. So, what is one of his abilities that he can do within Infamous? Well, he has the ability to glide. Now, in Infamous 1, it's a lower version of his glide. Like in Infamous 2, you unlock an ability that improves the glide, but in the first one, it's more of just like a horizontal movement, whereas the upgrade allows for a little bit more of a vertical movement before you go horizontally. So I kind of liked the second one, where you go vertical and then you go forward. So I kind of resemble that by double pressing X and then holding it your second press. So you kind of go up a little bit and then you glide forward. And it sort of behaves like Infamous. I might have to tweak it a little bit to get it to feel a lot more like Infamous, but you're able to even make it to the second platform. You can bypass a whole platform altogether because of this. But like I said, I might have to tweak it and whatnot to get it to feel a little bit more like it. Now in Infamous 1 and 2, I think the glide button is R1, and I would have done that too, but I already have R1 like as a shift key for my movement modes, and I don't want anything to conflict with that. So I have it set up to be able to or you just double press X and then hold X on the second press. So there's that. And I also added the HUD element on the bottom right hand corner of the screen, and that's L1 and square, and it changes you to melee mode. Now my plan for melee mode is gonna be like where all of the attacks are more melee based. You might have one ranged attack ability within melee mode just to kind of help with, like, oh, you might need to zap a person that's far away while you're fighting people up close. But in melee mode you have more control over your like fists. Like, so I'm gonna have it to where L2 is your left fist and R2 is your right fist, and depending on what buttons you press while pressing those buttons will determine what kind of punch you do. So like, for instance, if you're holding square, the idea is that you're going to do just like a jab. But let's say you're holding triangle, you might do like an uppercut. And then if you're holding, let's see, what other button? There was another button that I think it's circle. If you hold circle, you do like a left hook if you press L2, and then you do a right hook if you press R2. So that will be kind of the idea for melee mode. So let's go back into default mode, which is L1 and triangle. Right now it has the HUD element is very basic, just kind of remind the player what buttons you can press. Now I'll probably hide the HUD elements until you press like the shift keys, like R1 and L1. Like once you press those, then I think that's when I would bring up the HUD elements in the game. I think that would be good, because I know a lot of people don't like to have a bunch of HUD elements on their screen at one time. So if I can limit what all's up at one time, that would be a great plan. So now moving on to the actual attacks. Now I only have one attack right now, and it's Cole's zap ability basically. So you're able to hold R2 and it brings up a reticle. And real quick, I'm going to explain some about this. Now right now this video is going to seem like I didn't really add a whole lot, but there's good reason for that. I spent 2 to 3 days this week trying to develop my own projectile system, and it looked good when I did it, but then in practice it didn't really work very well in terms of it didn't do damage. It didn't, like, it just, the way I did it, it didn't, the enemy puppet didn't register it that as taking damage from it. So I had to tweak it in such a way to make it so that it did. So I spent the next pretty much half of the week trying to get it right, and couldn't really figure it out really. So I took to YouTube, and a YouTuber by the name Christian Lewis had a really good third-person projectile system. So I based this projectile system off of his. So you're able to aim, and then you're able to shoot. And you can do that left hand, and you can also do that with your right hand, and it actually deals damage. And if you notice the reticle, one of the things in Infamous 1 and 2 is if you're good Cole, if you're hovering over nothing, like you're just hovering over the world environment, your reticle is kind of a grayish color. But if you hover over an enemy, it kind of turns blue, and it's kind of hard to tell in this environment, but it is turning blue whenever it hovers over the enemy. Another thing that I added was kind of an aim assist. So if you're looking at the enemy puppet, it kind of slows down your camera movement a little bit to help you aim a little bit better. That will need a little bit of tweaking. I might need to change the size of the zone to a little bit bigger, so it's a little bit easier to do it, because even in this mode it's sometimes hard to aim. So there's that. And that's pretty much it. But shout out to Christian Lewis for coming up with this projectile system. I mean, it's definitely helped me out in regards to developing an Infamous style game. Because that, I mean, I think in one of his videos he explained, like, he was inspired by Infamous's projectile system, and so you know, obviously, if he's got one that's working, might as well use it, kind of thing. I wanted to try to do everything on my own, but I mean, at the end of the day, this is probably the better one to do. I mean, it's probably going to be way more accurate than what mine would have been, and it behaves pretty well. And you could shoot off into space, and it will travel a certain distance before it destroys itself, so there's always that plus as well. But real quick, the rest of the video I'm going to shout out to some YouTubers for kind of just their inspiration or just help in general, because without those YouTubers I would not have been able to figure out Dreams, or it would have taken me a whole lot longer to figure out what everything does. But because of these YouTubers, they've pretty much made it, or helped me understand what different logic gadgets do and how you can apply them to your games. So real quick, obviously Christian Lewis, thank you so much for your projectile system. It's helped me a lot, and I'm definitely grateful for that. And then of course there's Aecert. He has a lot of tutorial videos. I would definitely highly recommend you checking his content out, because it's very helpful, very intuitive. It kind of goes step by step on how certain gadgets work, and what he kind of goes through the troubleshooting process as well a little bit. Like he kind of has videos where he actually shows him developing something, and it kind of allows you to kind of pick his brain in terms of troubleshooting. So I definitely appreciate his videos. Jimmy Jules, kind of an earlier Dreams tutorial creator. I appreciate all of the things that he's posted, because, you know, that's kind of where I got the foundation of how things worked. NeonTheCoder is another kind of foundational dreamer that has helped me understand things on this and how they work. And then other ones, not as much, but you know, some good ones that I have looked at in the past, like LadylexUK. She's a pretty decent tutorial maker, so I definitely appreciate her. And I think that is it. There's probably a bunch of other YouTubers out there that taught me something. So, I mean, you know, good chance if you're on YouTube, I thank you. If you're on YouTube and post dream tutorials, I want to say thank you so much for all of the hard work that you put into making those dreams a reality, or making those tutorials a reality, because it's definitely helped me, and I know it's helping a lot of other people. So all that to say, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, and if there's any kind of ideas on where you want me to take this puppet, please leave a comment down in the comment section. That would really appreciate it. And also let me know how this format is. If you guys want me to do more tutorial based videos, I might can see if I can do a tutorial based video about some of the stuff that I've learned, and I'll, of course, anything that is more directly tied to a YouTuber, I'll definitely try to leave a shout out towards that YouTuber, because, you know, I don't want to take total credit for something that that's not my work. So I definitely want to give credit where it's earned, or where it's, you know, tied to. So anyways, thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day. Bye.